Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our 2025 UNSW Medicine Information Evening. My name is Cheryl Jones and I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine and Health and a Professor of Paediatric Infectious Diseases here at UNSW. Tonight we are going to be covering information that's relevant to international applicants to our medicine program. What we'll share is mostly relevant to those of you who are thinking of applying this year to start in 2026. So if you happen to be a little bit younger or not planning on applying until later, we're still really pleased to have you. Do stay with us, but keep in mind that things do change a little bit from year to year, and so we recommend that you watch future years' information sessions as well in the year prior to application. Before we get into our session, it's really important that I acknowledge country. I respectfully acknowledge the Bejigal people of the Eora Nation who are the traditional custodians of the land where I am today on our Kensington campus. I recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and community, and also pay my respects to elders past, present, and extend that respect to any First Nations people joining us tonight, and acknowledge all the campuses of UNSW and their Aboriginal elders. UNSW is a university with a really strong reputation. We are ranked in the top 20 universities globally and first in Australia for employment outcomes in the latest 2025 QS World University Rankings. At UNSW, we aim to inspire students to create the best versions of their future selves and to set the foundation for an impactful, rewarding career. To achieve this from day one, our students are encouraged to follow their passions and are taught by leaders in their fields. We have a strong reputation for innovation, with more startup founders having studied at UNSW than anywhere else in the world. In doing so, we are guided by our university's Latin motto, Scientia Corde, Manu and Mente, which translate to knowledge by heart, hand and mind. And this captures UNSW's spirit of progress for all, as we strive to deliver the most exceptional education and research experiences possible while driving societal impact. Our medicine and health faculty is known worldwide for our innovative research programs and our transformative research. We bring our excellence in teaching, research and advocacy and commitment to social impact to address the most significant health challenges the world faces. We are recognised as one of the best in the world by our QS rankings. Our research is world-class, particularly in areas such as cancer, neuroscience, mental health, addiction, infectious diseases and other non-communicable diseases. Our world-class medicine degree, which we'll talk about tonight, has been the most in-demand degree in the state of New South Wales for the last 8 years running. We also have our incredible new Randwick Health and Innovation Precinct, which is a $1.5 million project that joins University of New South Wales with 4 hospitals in Randwick and our community. The building you can see here is UNSW's Health Translation Hub. It is near completion of construction and set to open later this year. The new building will integrate world-class innovative health education and training and research with our acute health services, delivering better health outcomes to patients, carers and the New South Wales community. We will have new teaching spaces for our students that you will be able to experience when you start with us. In the faculty, we know now more than ever that we need a range of health professions, clinicians and otherwise to prepare for the future of health. From the epidemic of obesity to global ageing and the resurgence of communicable diseases such as influenza and COVID-19, the critical health issues facing our modern world creates numerous and diverse needs that our faculty addresses to drive real-world change. We're here to talk to you tonight about the medicine program, but I also wanted to show you some of the other degrees at UNSW where our graduates are critical in driving better health outcomes. In the clinical space, you can study to become an exercise physiologist, a physiotherapist, a dietitian, a pharmacist, or an optometrist or vision scientist, or a combination of these degrees. And outside of this, careers in public health, as well as medical and vision scientists and engineering and biomedical engineering, all play key roles as well. Our clinical schools in metropolitan Sydney and rural New South Wales, as Wagga Wagga, Port Macquarie, Coffs Harbour, Albury and Griffith, have state-of-the-art facilities for clinical education and biomedical sciences. I encourage you to consider some of these other fields and professions, as well as choosing to study in medicine and health at UNSW. UNSW Medicine and Health aims to develop compassionate innovators and global leaders in health through transformative education and learning experiences. The actions we set in motion here will be felt across Australia and the world's health landscape for years to come. So thank you for joining us online tonight, and I hope to see you on campus next year. I'll now pass on to Nicole from the Future Students team, who will take you through the rest of this evening's event. Thank you again.
Thank you, Cheryl. Hi, my name is Nicole. I'm part of the Marketing and Digital Experience team here at UNSW, and I engage with people like you who are thinking about studying in medicine and health. We'll be starting our event with our program overview. You'll then hear about the student journey from one of our current international medical students. We'll then get into admissions process and pathways to studying medicine at UNSW, which I know you're all really keen to hear about. And finally, you'll hear from our Medstock Events Director around student life and support. Along the way, you can also ask us questions through the Microsoft Teams chat. At the end of the event, we'll have a Q&A session to answer these questions and also have a few live advisors replying to the chat. I'll also mention that the session is being recorded and shared afterwards, and we'll add some closed captions to that video. That's all from me now. I'm excited to introduce Associate Professor Sean Kennedy. Sean is the Program Authority for our Bachelor of Medical Studies, Doctor of Medicine program in the Faculty of Medicine and Health. He's an awarded educator and researcher and plays a really key role in the medicine degree.
Good evening, everyone, or afternoon or morning, whenever you're watching this. I'm very happy to be here today talking to you all, and I want to give you an overview of what studying medicine at the University of New South Wales is like and what it's about. Importantly, when you graduate from our 6-year program, you'll graduate with a dual degree, with 2 degrees. There's a Bachelor of Medical Studies and a Doctor of Medicine. And it's really divided into the three years. The first 3 years contribute to the bachelor's, and then the MD comes from the second. But the full 6 years join together. And the way that we have divided up the teaching and learning is into 3 phases. And the style of learning that you have in each of the phases is slightly different. In phase 1, where we've taken most of you straight from high school, you get that introduction to some of the biological sciences, biomedical sciences and social sciences, which lay the foundation for working as a doctor. But at the same time that you're learning the sciences, you'll also be learning the clinical skills, the communication skills, the physical examination that we use all the time as doctors. And so it's a very integrated course, and it's integrated mainly through scenario group teaching. So you're getting real life scenarios about patients, about healthcare situations. And while you're learning it, while you're working through the scenarios, you're learning the basic sciences and the clinical sciences. It's also integrated between 2 years. So for most of the courses, not for the first one in the year, but for the others then, when you're learning, if you're in first year, some of the students in your scenario groups will be in second year. That's the first 2 years of the program, phase 1. Then you move into third year, which is the beginning of phase 3. Phase 3 is much more time spent in the healthcare setting. So during the first 2 years, you'll spend some time in hospitals, but in year 3, you'll spend the majority of your time in health settings, mainly hospitals. And I'll talk more about the teaching hospitals that we have on offer. But at the same time, you'll have lectures, tutorials, lab sessions where you'll still be going over those basic and clinical sciences, but all the time integrated with clinical learning. The second half of phase 2, which is year 4, I'll talk more about in the next slide, but that's a very specialised year where you do more research. But once you come back from the research year, you go into phase 3. And phase 3 has a bit more of that traditional medical teaching, where most of it's in hospitals, where you'll be attached to teams and you rotate through various different specialties. So you may do 8 weeks where you're working in psychiatry and learning about psychiatry, and then the next 8 weeks it'll be in women's health, obstetrics, gynecology, and so forth over the 2 years. And then at the end of the 6th year, of course, there are final exams. But we have examinations all the way through, and we have what we call a portfolio that monitors your learning all the way through the 6 years. So let's go back now to the year 4. So year 4 is an important year where you learn and practice, particularly research skills. That sounds a little bit daunting sometimes for people. They think, well, how do I do research when I'm only a 4th year medical student? But it's a very structured and well-supported year. But it's also a great year for expanding your interests because you have the opportunity to choose research projects with research supervisors who are experienced supervisors and researchers from all of our campuses. And you can concentrate on learning how we do research, how we interpret research, how we communicate research. There's two arms. Most students will go into the honours that year. So their research project will also be linked with some coursework that they do. And then when they graduate, they'll graduate with a Bachelor of Science Med honours. But other students will also do research that year and will contribute to the same 4th year learning, but it's as an independent learning project. And there's plenty of help in 2nd and 3rd year to help you choose which path is best for you and which project suits you the best. So that's the 6 years that you spend at UNSW, but that's only the beginning of your path to being a doctor, and whatever type of doctor you end up being. Because in New South Wales and Australia, to get full registration, you need to do 1 year in hospitals as supervised practice as an intern. And then beyond that, then you go into more vocational training where you'll what we call specialise. Now that specialisation could be in general practice. It could be in one of the many medical or surgical specialties, or it could be going off into other careers. But for whatever you do, one of the beauties and one of the really things that is attractive about medicine as a career is that you never stop learning. Sure, you get past the exams and you don't have to keep doing exams and sitting in lectures all the time, but you always are a learner. And that's one of the really important things that we teach our students during those 6 years, how to be a lifelong learner. So what are some of those specialisations and careers? So these are in Australia, mostly run by colleges, and there's College of Physicians, the College of Surgeons. Within the College of Physicians, you can do paediatrics, you can do all of the adult specialties like oncology, gastroenterology, neurology, all those ologies. There's other colleges which oversee training in anaesthetics, in obstetrics and gynecology, emergency medicine, radiology, medical imaging, or pathology. And there's the non-clinical careers where you're not necessarily working all the time with patients, but you can have a massive impact on the health of patients and society in general. Things like public health and medical management, looking after hospitals and making sure hospitals run right, which is not an easy job. Medical research in any of the vast fields of research, policy making, and passing more on to the next generation of education. And importantly, you can have a career mainly in medical education or research, but even if you have some of those careers in the top lines, you'll still be doing education and research while you're working as a clinician. Our program, of course, is usually is an undergraduate program. You start with a bachelor's degree, and we're usually taking students straight from school. We take you through, as we said, a stepwise integration from learning the basic sciences to integrating it with clinical sciences. Also, what you're learning all those 6 years is how to be a university student, because being a student at university is very different to being a student in high school. And then when you graduate, you're finished. You're ready to be registered as a doctor to that internship. Other universities offer postgraduate programs where you would have had to do a previous bachelor's degree in a different specialty, not a medical degree, maybe a medical science degree. We take a small number of students from our medical sciences degree into medicine, but it's a very small number each year, and they enter into our third year. One of the really fun and, again, those diverse things about UNSW is that where you learn, we have great opportunities around New South Wales. Where I'm talking from today is at the Kensington campus. And just next door to the Kensington campus, literally across the road, is the Randwick Health Innovation Precinct. And on campus there we have Prince of Wales Hospital, we have Sydney Children's Hospital, we have the Royal Hospital for Women. These are all world-leading hospitals that are providing care across the spectrum from birth, from cradle to grave, as we say. Elsewhere in Sydney, and not very far away, easy to get to by public transport, St Vincent's Hospital, St George Hospital, Sutherland Hospital, the Southwest Sydney campus, which includes the really big, really important, really busy hospitals, Liverpool Hospital, Campbelltown Hospital, Bankstown Hospital, Fairfield Hospital. These are all the hospitals that you'll learn at in Sydney. Our rural students have the potential for starting from first year in Port Macquarie or Wagga Wagga. But the rural students can then, beyond phase 1, can also do their learning in Coffs Harbour, in Albury Wodonga, and some of the rotations in Griffith Hospital. And students who aren't via the rural entry scheme will also have the opportunity to spend time in some of these rural areas. So you can see one of the attractive things about UNSW is a lot of the campuses are in great spots. So you can have a great extracurricular activities wherever you're based. So I just want to end in closing that medicine, as we said, is the start of a lifetime degree by studying with us. It's a challenge to get into. It'll be challenging to complete the course. It's not easy, and we don't make apologies for that. And the selection sometimes appears really difficult, but we don't make apologies for that either, because we select students that we think have what it takes to succeed in our course, but also, more importantly, have what it takes to go on to be great doctors and really make a difference in the lives of individuals and society as a whole.
Thanks, Sean, for taking us through the detail of our medicine degree. Now that you've had an intro into the medicine degree, I'm going to pass over to Zamir, who is one of our international students from Singapore. He will take you through his journey from applying through to studying at UNSW.
Hey everyone, I'm Zamir. I'm in my 4th year of medicine at UNSW and I'm from sunny island, Singapore. Today I'd like to share and hopefully inspire some of you with my medicine journey, from applying to what I've got up to through the different phases, and what's life been like in Australia as an international student. So from an early age, I have been absolutely fascinated with the practice of medicine. So it was always medicine for me. But how did I end up here? Why not home in Singapore or the UK or anywhere else in the world? And the truth is, I was unsuccessful in gaining an offer from a local institution in Singapore. And yes, that was disappointing at that time. But now when I look back and think about it, it was truly a blessing in disguise. Here I am now in one of the most beautiful countries you could ever wish to be in, doing something that I absolutely love. And it is such a blessing to be studying somewhere that is culturally rich and full of diverse experiences as well. Another huge factor for me and for any of my Singaporean friends listening in is the fact that the medicine degree at UNSW is one of the very few that is approved by the Singapore Medical Council. This meant that studying at UNSW would give me that opportunity to return home and practice in the future if I chose to. But why UNSW specifically? Firstly, UNSW is a top 20 global institution, and that means studying alongside the brightest of minds in the world, having the best resources at your disposal from academic material and just the amazing quality of teaching. It is just incredible what this university has accomplished in a mere 75 years. Particularly with the medicine degree, what stood out to me was the fourth year, where students get the opportunity to delve into the world of research, potentially opening up more opportunities in the future for them. And finally, the community at UNSW was also something that was so important to me, to know that I would have the support that I needed being so far away from home. So considering all of these factors, I applied and was successful in getting an offer here. So from Prof's presentation earlier, you probably have an understanding of how the different phases work in med. I'll just share some key highlights from my journey so far within med and outside of med as well. So firstly, and quite importantly, was settling into Australia as an international student. I lived in one of the UNSW colleges, Victory Hall, which was just so incredibly fun and helpful in gaining my bearings in a foreign environment. Living in a college allowed me to have a wonderful community of people whom I could rely on, be it for academic support or just simply having fun. So that picture there on the left is one of the commencement dinners that we've had, where everyone gets to dress up fancy and there's this 3-course meal with performances, etc. It's really fun. And I still live on campus till this day, and I would highly recommend looking into it if you have the opportunity to. Something that UNSW Medicine prides itself in is clinical exposure right from when you begin your studies. So these are skills that cannot be learned from a textbook, but require hands-on interactive experiences where you learn things like empathy, effective communication. So just take a moment and think about all your past visits to the doctors. I'm sure you've had one experience which stood out to you. Think about what made it stand out. Was it your doctor's book knowledge, or was it their empathetic approach to you? Most of you, hopefully, would have said the latter, and that is usually the case. Effective communication with patients is such an important part of medicine, and the only way to hone this is through your clinical experiences. In third year, I really got to be deep in this, being at the hospital 3 days a week, rotating through the different disciplines. These placements not only allowed me to practice those skills I mentioned earlier, but also really see the intricacies of each specialty. I recall during one of my placements, my obstetrics and gynecology placement, I had the privilege of observing, but not one, but 2 childbirths, one natural and one cesarean. And I just remember finishing up for that day and calling my mom and just apologizing for having such a big head. And funny, I'm telling you this because I want you to realize that these placements challenge your preconceptions about medicine and really offer you lots of avenues for reflection on what you want to do in the future. You will hear a bit more about MedSoc soon, and there are so many opportunities to learn new skills through the societies such as Surgical Society, or being part of something like the Teddy Bear Hospital, where you get to teach the children about the importance of health through a teddy bear model. And university is so much more than the course that you study. I always say this, we've got an incredibly vibrant student life here on campus with over 300 societies. I run the Motorcycle Society at UNSW, and that photo on the bottom right there is one of the meet and greets rides that we've had. And I get to interact with people from outside of medicine, including other faculty staff members who've come along for these rides and just have so much to share about general life experiences. I'm also leading the Movember initiative here at UNSW. Hopefully you've heard of it before. It's a global charity that raises money and awareness for men's mental health issues. The photo on the bottom left there is just us setting up for our first ever activation last year. So I will also be doing my independent learning project this year at the George Institute for Global Health in the field of cardiology, and I'm just so excited for it. My project title is Off-Label Lower Dose NOAC Use for Stroke Prevention in People with Atrial Fibrillation. And that is a mouthful, I know, but basically it is a review of existing research to explore the use of lower than recommended doses of NOACs in people with AFib. I'm also part of the cultural mentoring team where I would have the opportunity to provide guidance to incoming international students, just like myself, when they first arrive in Australia. And lastly, this is still a long ways ahead, but I plan to take on exchange programs overseas in my final years. So overall, being an international student and doing medicine at UNSW has been an incredible experience. Outside of building your medical knowledge, you make awesome friends and memories that you will cherish for life. You get to explore so much, be it traveling through the country, learning new skills, picking up new hobbies, or realizing just your true self. And now, before I just hand over my time, I want to acknowledge something that many of you may already be thinking, that it is hard to get into medicine. And you're not alone, because I remember being in high school, contemplating my future, just like you guys. At that time, I spoke to one of my seniors that was studying at UNSW, who gave me quite possibly the best advice that I could have been left with, and that was the hardest part of medicine is getting in. And this is what I want to leave you with. It may look tough now, and I agree it does get challenging, but keep working hard and you'll see your dreams come true. So thank you. Now hand my time back over to Nicole.
Thanks very much for sharing your journey, Zamir. Now that we know more about the degree, we're going to go into how you apply to medicine at UNSW. I'll take you through the medicine admissions process, including information about your interview and English requirements. As mentioned earlier, this application process is for international applicants only. If you're a domestic applicant, our admissions process varies, and we recommend you watch the recording of our 2025 Domestic Medicine Information Evening, which you can find on YouTube. For international students completing the IB or an Australian qualification, there are 4 steps to applying to medicine. The first step is to sit an admissions test. UNSW accepts either the ISAT or the UCAT ANZ. For the second step, you'll need to make sure you apply directly to UNSW through the Medicine Application Portal, commonly referred to as the MAP. As well as the MAP, you will need to submit your application and preferences to UAC International. And lastly, if selected, you will complete the interview. In order to get an offer to UNSW, you're assessed based on 3 selection criteria: your academic merit, academic test results, and interview. In order to get an offer to UNSW, you are assessed based on 3 selection criteria: your academic merit, admissions test result, and interview. For international students completing other qualifications, for example, if you are completing the Hong Kong DSE or the GCE A levels, there are 3 steps to apply. The first step is the same. You will sit an admissions test, either the ISAT or the UCAT ANZ. Secondly, you'll need to ensure you apply via UNSW Apply Online. You will not be required to submit a MAP application. And lastly, if selected, you will complete the interview. Make sure you note the key dates. For international applicants, you'll need to sit an admissions test early enough that your results are available by November of the year you are applying. This is the same deadline to have completed your application. However, we recommend you complete these steps as early as possible due to the competitiveness of the program, and places may fill before the end of the year. Again, there are 3 selection criteria for you to gain an offer: your academic merit, admissions test results, and the interview. Now let's get into these steps a little bit more. As I've mentioned, you're assessed on 3 criteria for entry. The first of those is academic merit. In 2024, these were the minimum entry requirements for consideration for interview. This gives you an indication of what might be required for 2026 entry. IB students needed a minimum of 38, GCE A-levels a minimum of 17, and Hong Kong DSE a minimum of 27. The SATs a minimum of 1370. The Australian Tertiary Admissions Rank equivalent is 96, and for UNSW Foundation Study students, your GPA will need to be 9.0. Now let's look at the admissions test. As we've said, international students can apply via the UCAT ANZ or the ISAT. UCAT ANZ registrations are now open, and you need to apply by 16 May to sit the exam between July and early August. ISAT tests run throughout the year. These median and lowest admissions test scores are from 2024 and give you an indication of what you'll need to aim for. The UCAT ANZ, the minimum score was the 84th percentile and the lowest was the 51st percentile. Applications need to reach at least the 50th percentile to be considered eligible for interviews. For the ISAT, median was 178 and the lowest was 165. Applicants need to reach at least 165 ISAT score to be considered eligible for an interview. If you are planning on sitting both tests, you'll need to hold off submitting your application until you have decided which result you would like to use, as you can only submit one score and this cannot be changed once you've submitted your application. Most international applicants apply through Apply Online. But remember, those who are completing an Australian qualification or the IB need to apply through UAC International and the UNSW Medicine application portal. When applying via Apply Online, you'll need to complete 3 steps in the online application. Firstly, you need to submit your academic results. Secondly, you'll need to download and complete a form confirming your registration of the ISAT or UCAT, including the registration number, and upload this onto the application. And lastly, download and complete a form with life experience questions called the Medicine Personal Statement, and upload this onto the application. Okay, now let's have a look at this final selection criteria, the interviews. Interviews for international applicants are all held online via Zoom. Our medicine interviews are intended to get to know you as a person. They are a structured interview over a limited time, and there are 2 interviewers on the panel. Interview coaching for the interview is not recommended. It can be easily detected and may be detrimental to your performance. There are also no trick questions. You just need to be honest as we want to get to know you. Receiving an interview is competitive. For the 2024 intake, we received 618 applications and were able to interview 334. Interviews are held monthly starting in May and will continue throughout the year until all the places are filled. We also have minimum English language requirements. For the IELTS, 7.0 overall with a minimum of 6.0 in each sub-band. For the TOEFL, 94 overall with a minimum of 25 in writing and 23 in reading, listening and speaking. Getting into medicine is a competitive process, but if you're determined, it shouldn't be a question of if, but when you will get in. Now I'll pass on to Harini, who will talk a little bit more about MedSoc, our medicine society at UNSW, as well as some of the student experience and support services that we have for international students.
Hi everyone, my name is Harini and I'm a 3rd year medicine student from Malaysia. This year, I'm also the events executive at MedSoc, the UNSW Medicine Society. I know many of you tuning in tonight are interested in studying medicine at UNSW and might be wondering what student life is like here. Moving to a new country for university is a big step. And while it can feel a little daunting at first, UNSW Medicine is an incredibly diverse, welcoming, and vibrant community that makes you feel right at home. You won't just make amazing friends from your home country, you'll meet people from all around the world, and your medicine cohort will quickly become your new family. So what is MedSoc? Your MedSoc is the peak representative body for all UNSW medicine students. Every single medicine student is automatically a part of it. With over 100 student volunteers, we work to create the best possible experience for everyone. And we do that through our 3 pillars. First, advocacy. We aim to advocate for the best learning opportunities and curriculum for students by having a close and trusting partnership with our faculty. Our second pillar is experiences, which become lifelong memories for students and provide fun ways for them to learn, grow, and develop as individuals. Our third pillar is community, where we aim to build a fun community and foster a sense of belonging. As an international student, MedSoc ensures you feel supported, engaged, and excited about your journey. We know that moving countries comes with a lot of adjustments, and that's why we run the International Mentorship Program, where you'll be paired with senior international students who can help you settle in. At UNSW Medicine, student life goes beyond academics, with events designed to bring people together and create a strong sense of community, especially for international students. For example, College Cup runs every term, where students compete in friendly sports like soccer, volleyball, making it a great way to meet new people. We also host Student vs. Teacher Tug of War, a fun tradition where students take on faculty members. For those looking for more relaxed social activities, events like Watch and Paint Origami Night provide a space to unwind and connect with others. We also have our Diversity in Medicine Month, hosted by our Inclusivity team, where they run events like the Cultural Food Fair and Party, Ausland Workshop. Whether you're looking to engage with your own cultural community or explore new ones, there's always something happening to make UNSW Medicine feel like home. If you're passionate about a specific area of medicine, we have Special Interest Group 6 in internal medicine, surgery, psychiatry, dermatology, radiology, critical care, and many more. These groups run hands-on workshops, networking nights, and conferences. But MedSoc isn't just about medicine. If you love theatre, music, or performing, we have performing arts group like MedShow, a performance written, directed, and performed by over 100 hardworking medical students, and the Medical Music Society, which hosts concerts, jam sessions, and student bands. Alongside MedSoc, there are other international student societies like Singaporean Medical Society and Hong Kong and Macau Medical Society. These societies aim to best support our juniors through their early years. They run various events like the mentorship programs, academic tutorials, and fun social events, helping you stay connected with your roots while also making new friendships. At UNSW, we always strive to be present and support you the best we can. One of the ways we support mental health and well-being is through our self-care days, where students can take 2 per term to prevent burnout. There's also an assessment support, particularly through our MedSoc academics team, who run regular tutorials for students leading up to exams. Our vice presidents also look after the equity, diversity, and inclusion portfolios, which include our women's, queer, indigenous, and international officers. When I first arrived in Australia as an international student, I remember feeling completely overwhelmed. New country, new people, and a completely different way of life. It was daunting trying to find my place, but the UNSW medicine community made all the difference. From meeting friends who became like family to getting involved in events that made me feel at home, I slowly found my footing. And now here I am telling you that you will too. UNSW Medicine is more than just a degree. It's a place where you grow, belong, and build memories that last a lifetime. Thank you for your time. I'll now hand it back to Nicole.
Thanks, Harini. It's always exciting to hear about MedSoc and just how much students get up to outside the classroom. And what you've spoken about barely scratches the surface. Now we're going to move into the Q&A. We've had lots of questions in the chat and won't be able to get through all of them, so please thumbs up any questions you want to hear answered so you can get to those first. Like I said earlier, anything we don't get to tonight, our future students' advisors are always happy to answer anytime. I will now hand over to my colleague Anna for our Q&A.
Thanks, Nicole. And thank you, Sean, Harini and Zamia for joining us for the Q&A. We've had a lot of questions come through tonight and we'll try to answer as many as we can. But I may send the first one to you, Sean. So we're getting some questions around how challenging it is for international students to get an internship in Australia after they graduate, and what support is there from the faculty for international students to find intern roles?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a question that often gets asked. I guess you guys have thought about it as well. I'm happy to say that from our graduates from UNSW, the international cohort, those students who want to stay in Australia, over recent years, most have been able to get an internship. I can't say it's 100%, and actually I'm not 100% sure of what the numbers are, but I know that most have been successful in getting an internship. The internships, the process changes from state to state within Australia. You may not get an internship in New South Wales, but maybe in one of the other states. It may not be in a metropolitan site, and you may have to go into a rural site or into a more regional site because that's where the openings are. But they're all the same in terms of internship, in terms of registration, in terms of being stepping stone to your next training and studies. So that's the answer, that you should be able to if this is what you're interested in. In terms of what support we offer, we do offer in the final year before the internship applications come up. We have information sessions. MedSoc and other students themselves, they have within the international student group, there's a lot of senior students or even alumni who may be able to give advice. We may be able to put you in contact with people who've already been through the process.
Yeah, great. So it sounds like there's a lot of support there for you to make that decision. So we're getting questions around what subjects do you have to study in secondary school, and again, going to reiterate what Nicole said earlier tonight is that there's no prerequisites at UNSW. So we only have assumed knowledge, and that's the knowledge that academics will expect you to have when you start your first year. However, you don't need to have any particular knowledge to get an offer to study with us. And for medicine, you need at least English standard for assumed knowledge, but we do also recommend chemistry and biology for students. So to follow through on that, I'll start with Harini. What subjects did you study in high school?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Anna. I remember I did physics, biology, chemistry, and maths. At that time, I wasn't too sure what kind of career I want to choose in life, and I wasn't too sure about med, so I was like, I might as well take all science subjects and, figure out what I'm really passionate about. That said, when I came into medicine, obviously the biology and science was really helpful for me, and it was really easy to get into the curriculum. But even if you haven't done the subjects, they offer the bridging course module, which I know my friends have done it before, and they did find it really helpful to just understand the content and get into it easily.
Yeah, great. And Zamia, what did you study?
So I did the IB, and I did chemistry, bio, English, French, and math. Unlike Harini, I kind of knew that it was medicine or nothing for me. So yeah, I picked my subjects just because of that, and I did chemistry and bio, and that helped quite a bit. But like she said as well, there are bridging courses available at UNSW, and that's fantastic. I've got so many of my friends who actually went through these courses, and they found it so helpful in getting them on track into the curriculum. So yeah.
Yeah, great. And it is great to hear that your friends have had great experiences with the bridging courses. So those are an offer for you to speed up your learning there. We recommend that, obviously, if you want to come into medicine, you'll be studying subjects sort of related to medicine, so that biology and chemistry, but again, it's not needed. And sometimes studying the subjects that will get you the highest grades may be something you consider, because if you are passionate about a certain area, you're going to study better in it, get better grades, and then more likely get into medicine. So lots of things to think about for you there. Question now about the interviews. So every year we get a lot of questions about the interviews. We have questions asking what we're looking for, if there's medical knowledge. Sean, can you elaborate a bit more?
Yeah. So the interviews are structured. So all students that are doing an interview on a given day will more or less get asked the same questions. And those questions are really to find out a bit more about you, about your motivation for doing medicine, about
past experiences that might have helped you come to this decision that you want to do medicine, and for us to sort of think, are you suitable for UNSW Medicine, and ideally suitable to be a doctor in 6 years' time. So there isn't specifically about medical knowledge. We are not asked questions that that test you. It's really questions about you.
Yeah, great. And Haridi, do you have any advice, having taken the interview yourself and gotten in, for the students watching?
Absolutely. I think from my side, the only advice I'll give is, just try to be confident and be yourself, of course, and just share experiences that you think would make you, really good to get into like med, or like why you think you'd be good to be in med. And some of the experiences are like, like leadership, or anywhere where you felt like, you want to share empathy for others and being compassionate. And the interviews are just there to just almost have a chat with you. My interviewers were very friendly. They just wanted to get to know about me and just ask me about my day-to-day life at that point. And yeah, just be yourself. And you can even practice, conversing with yourself, or like in the mirror, or with your friends, and just get into the mode of it to just share your experiences.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And we have a question here asking, is it better to sit the interview earlier in the year? The answer is yes. So as Nicole mentioned, interview offers are set on a rolling basis. So we recommend as soon as you get your results in the year, we start interviews from May up until the end of the year. And we may fill our places closer to the end of the year. So the sooner you can get in, that's what we recommend. All right, so the next question, we touched on this earlier tonight, but what are some of the career opportunities for the graduates from our medicine program? And do some students end up in non-clinical roles? Sean?
Yeah, I wouldn't say limitless, but massive number of opportunities. In order to be registered in Australia, you need to complete your internship, and then that gets you registered. And then usually people then do another year in hospital and then go off looking for training programs. And those training programs can be in general practice, can be in specialties, and they can be like in surgery and all sorts of surgical specialties. In clinical medicine, which is sort of the non-surgical component, and all sorts of specialties, including things like pediatrics and women's health, as well as adult health and psychiatry. And we put the list up before of all those things. And also, some people, while they're doing medicine or once they start working, think, actually, maybe there's a different aspect of medicine that I'm really interested in. I'm more interested in research. I'm more interested in data. I'm more interested in administration, medical administration, or even education. I want to teach the next generation of doctors almost as a full-time job. So there's all those clinical roles, non-clinical roles that you can do as well.
Yeah, great. Lots of options for you when you graduate. I have a question for you, Zamia. How intense is the workload while you're studying? Is work-life balance really possible?
Look, I get this question a lot from friends and family as well, till this day, and they think that it's crazy, the workload. It gets difficult sometimes towards the exam season and stuff, but throughout the year, I guess what I've seen from my peers as well is you have time to do lots of things outside of medicine. So when I say outside of medicine, I mean outside of the curriculum, the core curriculum. So time to do things like, suturing workshops, or just exploring your own hobbies and interests. So yes, there is time. You can balance your work and your lifestyle, and that just depends on how good you are with your time management skills. And that's something that I learned to really hone during my high school years, and yeah, that just transferred over. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, wonderful.
And
yes.
So wouldn't you say also that with the way the program is structured, that we help you develop those time management skills?
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, you get quite a lot of support from the faculty and staff members as well, and just the structure, the way it's structured in your first 2 years, especially with the exams at the end of the term. Some students find that hectic when they first start university. But from my experience, it's amazing because it gets you to you get to accumulate all the information from the term, and yeah, I think it's great. I just think the structure is great, actually. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for that feedback. And Harini, I have a question for you now. So we have a lot of students asking about the accommodation options at UNSW, and I know that you lived on campus. Can you share your experience a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I lived on a residential campus that's like on site, and I absolutely loved it. I remember when I first moved to Australia, I was really scared of like meeting new people and new country, and it was a big step. And I have to really say, first of all, the medicine people like I met at my college, they were so welcoming, and they just introduced me to everything, and you know, they just make you feel like you belong. And also the residential colleges on campus, they have a lot of support systems, and they run their own events, and there are just so many variety of opportunities for you to take part in, and they just help you really adjust in.
Yeah, wonderful. And Zamir, you as well lived on campus?
Yeah, so I've lived on campus for the past 4 years. There's lots of options for you to pick from, whatever suits your needs. So if you need meals 3 times a day, 3 days a week, that's not enough. So if you were like me when you came in and you had no idea how to cook or anything, that was terrible. Having that option where you've had meals catered for you, that was amazing, because I had time to really focus on my studies and also focus on making new friends, because that's so important as an international student to really have a solid community in your first year, so that you can rely on so that you have someone to rely on for academic support as well as just having fun. But yeah, overall the experience living on campus, highly recommend it.
Great. Thank you, Zamir.
Can you cook now?
Oh yeah, I can.
So, Sean, we have a question for you. What happens if you don't pass exams while studying, and is it common?
So, it's a difficult course. There's a lot to study, and assessment load, so that's exams, there are assignments, there are different types of exams. There's exams like multiple choice exams, and as you get further into the program, there's sort of clinical exams where you're interacting with patients. There's interview type exams, which we call vivas. So there is other, and there's a high level of expectation that we want you to get to. If you engage with all the learning, if you come to classes, if you particularly support each other and work together, if when you're getting into the later years you're spending times in hospitals and seeing patients, you'll be ready for the exams. So they're not impossible. And so the vast majority of people pass the exams. But of course some people don't. But one failure doesn't mean exit. And in some ways it's one of the hardest things that medical students have to deal with, because most of our medical students are high achievers, and you've probably never failed an exam before. But some of us do fail exams, and then usually what will happen is you'll either get another opportunity to pass that exam more or less soon, or you'll have extra learning, extra support to get you ready to pass the exam at the next step. So it happens. If it happens to you in the future, don't be devastated by it. And you're just failing one assessment, one exam is sometimes a wake-up call. Sometimes it tells us that you just need a bit of extra help, but you'll get through.
Yeah, great. We have some admissions-based questions. One is around how many places there are in the medicine program for international students. So at UNSW, we have just around 100 places each year for international students, and then another 200 places for our local students. So around 1/3 of our students are international students. We have another question: can you apply to medicine before you finish high school? No, so we need to wait for those final marks to come out. So you can't use your predicted grades to apply. So we recommend, as I said earlier, as soon as you get your results, that's when you apply with us and start that interview process. All right, so we're running short on time, so we're going to finish off with one last question that I'll ask each of you, and that is, what's the best piece of advice that you can give, pressure is on, for the students watching online? So I'll start with you, Zamir, and then we'll go along.
Okay. Let me think. All right, so you'll hear me say this again later, probably. But this is something that my senior said to me when I was in high school, like you guys, anxious about getting in. And he said this to me, and this is something that resonates with me as well. I know it might not be something that everyone agrees with, but it was the hardest part of medicine is getting in. And truly, it has been that way for me. It was extremely hard getting in, like the hard work that I had to put in. And I'm not saying that it is easy right now throughout the years, but you have so much support and everyone's here to help you. So yeah, work hard now and you'll see your dreams come true.
Great. And Harini?
One piece of advice from me, I would say if you're thinking about, studying medicine, think about it further, just, see what you're really passionate about. And from my personal experience, you're never going to know 100% if medicine is the right career for you. You can just have to take a leap of faith and just try it on and see if it works. And yeah.
Great.
I'll pick up on both of those. I think partly from Samir, really if you get selected to UNSW Medicine, the reason that we do academics, interviews, UCAT, is because that's how we select people that we know can succeed. So if you get in, you can graduate and you can become a doctor. A lot of people deal with imposter syndrome. Once you're in, sometimes you think, I'm not good enough. But if you're in, you're good enough. Mm. But on the other side of things, if you don't get in to UNSW Medicine, there are so many other opportunities, even to apply again in the following year, but so many other ways that you can pursue something that you'll enjoy doing for the rest of your life. So keep your options open. Think about really what motivates you, what you want to do and why you want to do it. And doors will open for you.
Yeah, wonderful. What a great sentiment as well to finish on. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the Q&A and sorry if we couldn't get through to your questions, but pass back to Nicole now to close the event.
That's all we have time for, but I really do encourage you to keep the conversation going with us. If you can, come along to our open day on Saturday, 6th of September, and like I said, get in touch with our future students advisors. I'd like to say a really big thank you to Cheryl, Sean, Zamir, Harini and Anna. You've all added so much insight for the people who joined us tonight. And finally, thank you to you for joining us. We wish you all the best finishing off your studies this year, all the best for your applications, and hopefully we'll be seeing you on campus soon.